The world feels more unpredictable than ever. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we each possess an inner citadel, a fortress of peace that no external chaos can ever breach. This ancient promise offers a powerful antidote to our modern anxiety. By the end of this video, you will have a complete, step-by-step Stoic method for building your own unshakable calm. We will explore how to distinguish between what you can and cannot control, and how to reframe your thoughts to find serenity in any situation. What part of your life feels most in need of that kind of peace right now? The entire Stoic path to peace begins with a single, crucial distinction. It is the line drawn between what is within our power and what is not. The ancient teacher Epictetus opened his famous handbook with this very idea, stating that some things are up to us and everything else is not. Our own judgments, our impulses, our desires and aversions, these are our domain. The actions of other people, our reputation, our wealth, or even our own body, these ultimately are not. Anxiety flourishes when we blur this line, when we pour our energy into commanding the weather or the opinions of strangers, as if we could ever truly hold the reins of such things. Think of being stuck in heavy traffic. You can choose to feel frustrated by the delay, letting tension build within you, or you can recognize the truth. You cannot control the other cars or the traffic signals. Your power lies only in your response, in how you choose to use that time, perhaps by listening to a calming piece of music or simply accepting the moment without inner struggle. This is the practice of the dichotomy of control. It is not passive resignation, but a profound shift of attention to the one place where your effort actually matters, your own mind. Where in your own life are you spending your precious energy trying to influence something that was never yours to direct? That initial jolt of frustration you feel in traffic is not the traffic itself. It is your rapid, unquestioned judgment that this situation is bad. Our peace is unsettled not by the events of our lives, but by the verdicts we deliver about them in the quiet space of our own minds. The Stoics called this critical faculty our power of assent. It is the moment of choice between an initial impression and your full-blown belief. An impression arrives instantly, a raw piece of data, like a notification on the screen of your consciousness. Someone gives you thoughtful feedback. The impression might be a sudden feeling of warmth in your face. Assent is what happens next. Do you automatically click on that notification and accept its story that you are being challenged or that you could have done better? Or do you pause, creating a vital space for your rational mind to step in and question the narrative? Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that we have the power to strip away the valued judgments we add to events. He wrote that you can choose to not feel troubled, and you will not feel troubled. You feel troubled only when you assent to the thought that you have been. Think of that minor inconvenience from your own week, the spilled coffee or the changed plan. The event itself was neutral. It was your judgment, your inner label of this is difficult or this changes my day, that summoned the emotional response. By mastering your assent, you are not becoming numb to life. You are becoming the discerning judge of your own experience, no longer a helpless bystander swept away by every passing thought. What if the very obstacles in your path were not enemies but essential parts of your training? This is the radical invitation of Amor Fati, a Latin phrase that translates to a love of one's fate. While the philosopher Nietzsche later championed this idea, its heart beats within ancient Stoic practice. It is the ultimate extension of acceptance, moving from mere tolerance of events to a full, active embrace of them. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively on this, urging himself to welcome every experience, not as a disruption, but as nourishment for his character and his capacity for reason. The struggle is not against what happens to you, but against your own resistance to what happens. Fighting reality is a battle you are guaranteed to lose, for reality has already occurred. Embracing it, however, unlocks a hidden strength. Consider the Roman statesman Seneca. When the Emperor Claudius sent him away to the island of Corsica, he was separated from his wealth, status, and life in Rome. A modern mind might see this as a catastrophic defeat, yet Seneca did not frame it that way. In his letters, he described this period not as a punishment, but as an opportunity. It was a chance for profound study, for uninterrupted reflection, and for strengthening his philosophical convictions away from the distractions of political life. He loved his fate by finding its inherent utility. Your own challenges, while perhaps less dramatic, hold the same potential. That difficult conversation you need to have, the project that feels overwhelming, the unexpected change in your routine. What if you were to look at this situation and ask not why is this happening to me, but what is this situation making possible within me? Is it cultivating patience or resilience, or perhaps a clarity you did not have before? Take a moment and bring to mind one current difficulty in your own life. Could you experiment with seeing it not as a setback, but as a necessary, deliberate part of your story, placed there specifically for your development? That embrace of fate becomes truly powerful when we can see our place in the larger story. Your current worry feels immense because it is so close. Now, try a simple mental shift. Lift your gaze from the immediate struggle and look at your life from a great distance, as if you were observing it from a mountaintop or even from the stars. This is the Stoic practice known as the view from above. Marcus Aurelius was a master of this. In his private writings, he would constantly pull back the lens, reminding himself of the vastness of the cosmos and the endless river of time. He would picture the bustling forums and crowded streets of ancient Rome, seeing them not as the center of the world, but as a single anthill on a massive, spinning planet. From that height, the dramas of individual lives, including his own immense power and concerns, shrank to their true proportion. They were small, fleeting, and part of a much grander tapestry. You can do this right now. Think about your city or town. See it in your mind from a high vantage point. Notice the countless people moving through their days, each with their own private hopes and personal journeys, all interconnected in a complex dance. Your own challenge is one thread in that vast fabric. Now, ask yourself a revealing question. How will you think about this current source of instability 1 year from today? How about in 10 years, the emotional charge often softens away, leaving only the essential lesson, the small but real step in your growth? This perspective does not dismiss your experience. It liberates you from its weight, allowing you to engage with your life not as a series of emergencies, but as a participant in something ancient and enduring. The Stoics believed that to fear less, you must periodically confront fear itself. This sounds contradictory, yet it lies at the heart of a powerful technique called Premeditation Malorum, the premeditation of difficulties. It is not an exercise in pessimism, but a form of emotional preparation. By deliberately and calmly rehearsing potential challenges in your mind, you strip them of their power to unsettle you when they arrive. The philosopher Seneca was a strong proponent of this practice. He advised that we should remind ourselves that the things we cherish, from our possessions to the people we love, will not remain unchanged forever. This is not meant to create sadness, but to build a profound sense of gratitude for what we have right now, and to develop a resilient mind that is ready for life's inevitable shifts. Think of a difficult conversation you need to have at work. You feel a knot of anxiety just considering it. Now, instead of avoiding that feeling, sit with it. Mentally walk through the most challenging, realistic outcome. Perhaps the conversation becomes tense or the other person disagrees strongly. Then, visualize yourself navigating that very scenario with calm and composure. By facing the possibility head-on, you are not inviting it to happen. You are strengthening yourself against the uncertainty of the unknown. Your anxiety loses its grip because you have already visited that territory in your mind and found that you can move through it. What is one future event you are anxious about, and what is the most challenging outcome you can calmly accept and prepare for? Our relentless pursuit of what we want is often the very source of our unrest. We chase after praise, promotions, and possessions, convinced they hold the key to our happiness, only to find the satisfaction is fleeting. The Stoics identified this as a fundamental error in our approach to life, and they prescribed a powerful corrective known as the discipline of desire. This is the practice of training your wants to align only with what is truly good, which they defined as living with virtue and reason, and accepting everything outside of that with calm indifference. It is about wanting what you already have the power to achieve, your own excellent character, rather than exhausting yourself in the pursuit of externals that were never promised to you. The teacher Epictetus put it plainly. He said that people are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. We struggle with a false belief that things like wealth or fame are inherently good, and that their opposites are inherently bad. This misidentification is what shatters our peace. Consider the deep human craving for social validation. You might wish for a social media post to go viral, for everyone to agree with your opinion, or for a certain person to like you. This longing places your inner tranquility in the hands of algorithms and other people's unpredictable judgments, a recipe for constant anxiety. Now contrast that with a different desire, the desire to act with integrity. You can want to speak kindly, to do your work well, and to be fair in your dealings, regardless of whether anyone notices or applauds you. This desire is entirely within your control. Its fulfillment depends on no one but you, and pursuing it brings an immediate and unshakable satisfaction. This is what the Stoics meant by living in accordance with nature, using your gift of reason to choose a life of virtue over a life of chasing shadows. So pause for a moment and look inward. What is one desire you are holding onto, perhaps for a different past or a guaranteed future, that if you could gently release, would bring you a profound and immediate sense of peace? That constant pursuit of future desires or regret over past choices pulls us out of the only place where our power truly resides. Our deepest anxieties about instability are almost always ghosts from yesterday or shadows from tomorrow. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius offered a starkly beautiful reminder of this truth. He wrote that each of us is living in the present, this fleeting, indivisible moment, while losing the past and the future as mere concepts. Your life, he noted, is made up of this one day, this 1 hour you are in right now. The entire Stoic path converges here, in the radical understanding that the present moment is your only true possession. It is the sole territory where you can actually exercise your reason, make a choice for virtue, and take a meaningful action. When your mind is fully invested in the present task, whether it is washing a dish, writing a sentence, or listening to a friend, anxiety has no room to breathe. It simply dissolves because its fuel is the imagined future or the unchangeable past. Think of a rock climber on a sheer cliff face. They cannot afford to dwell on the long journey behind them or fret about the difficult pitch still far above. Their entire world, their complete focus and effort must be on the single, immediate task, the next secure handhold, the next safe placement for their foot. Their progress and their stability depend entirely on their presence in that moment. You can cultivate this same focused presence. Try a simple exercise for just the next 60 seconds. Wherever you are, pause and bring your full attention to your immediate senses. Notice 5 things you can see, perhaps the texture of a wall or the light from a window. Listen for 4 distinct sounds, maybe the hum of a device or the sound of your own breath. Feel 3 physical sensations, the weight of your body in the chair, the temperature of the air on your skin. For this 1 minute, there is no past to regret and no future to fear. There is only this rich, detailed, and completely manageable present. This is the ground of your inner strength. Your thoughts are not commands, they are suggestions. One of the most subtle yet powerful Stoic skills involves learning to see your own thinking process from a slight distance. We often become completely fused with our thoughts, treating every anxious prediction or harsh self-judgment as an undeniable fact. The Stoics, particularly Epictetus, offered a way out of this pattern through a practice we can call cognitive distancing. He described our initial impressions as being like visitors who knock at our door. The knock itself is automatic. You cannot stop a thought from arising. But you hold the absolute power to decide whether you open the door, invite the visitor in, and offer it a meal. That space between the knock and your response is where your freedom lies. For example, the thought, "I cannot handle this situation," arrives with a sense of urgency and truth. When you are fused with it, you feel overwhelmed and defeated. But try this simple reframe. Say to yourself, "I am having the thought that I cannot handle this." This slight shift in language creates a profound psychological space. It acknowledges the thought's presence without mistaking it for reality. You are no longer the thought itself. You are the aware observer of the thought. This gentle separation is not about suppressing your inner world, but about relating to it with wisdom. You can watch your mental weather patterns, the clouds of concern or the passing storms of frustration, without believing you are the storm. What is a recurring unhelpful thought that visits your mind? For just a moment, can you try simply observing it, noting its presence without arguing with it or believing its story? What happens to its intensity when you stop fighting it and just let it be? Resilience in the Stoic sense is not a rigid wall, but the flexible strength of a deep-rooted tree. It bends with the storm's force without ever breaking at its core. This is the essence of the cardinal virtue of courage, not the absence of fear, but the unwavering will to act rightly in spite of it. Every challenge you face, every moment of instability, is not a disruption of your peace. It is the essential training ground, the gym for your soul where this resilient strength is built repetition by repetition. Consider the Roman statesman Cato the Younger. He lived through immense political turmoil and civil war, yet his contemporaries wrote of a character so consistent and principled that even his political enemies respected his integrity. His resilience was not in winning every battle, but in remaining unshaken in his commitment to his values regardless of the external outcome. His challenges did not break him. They revealed the unbreakable character that was already there, forged in quieter times and proven in difficult ones. Your own life holds these same opportunities for forging strength. Think back to a past difficulty you have moved through. It might have been a professional setback, a personal transition, or a period of great uncertainty. Within that experience, what is one quality you can now see you gained? Perhaps it was a deeper patience, a clearer understanding of your own priorities, or a newfound trust in your ability to endure. That strength is a permanent part of your inner fortress now, ready for whatever comes next. One of the most counterintuitive Stoic practices involves deliberately seeking out a small amount of hardship. Why would anyone choose discomfort when the goal is peace? The answer lies in a profound form of mental training known as voluntary discomfort. This is not about punishing yourself, but about actively proving to your own mind that your well-being is not held hostage by your external conditions. By occasionally and willingly stepping away from a comfort, you demonstrate to yourself through direct experience that you are more resilient than your circumstances. The philosopher Seneca advised his friend Lucilius to periodically practice a simpler way of living. He suggested setting aside a few days to wear simple clothes, eat plain food, and sleep on a basic bed. The purpose, he explained, was to build a confident inner dialogue. You could then say to yourself, "Is this the condition I once feared? This is nothing." By facing a scaled-down version of a feared loss, you drain the fear of its power. You learn that you can endure and even find a different kind of richness in simplicity. A modern parallel might be choosing to disconnect from your devices for an afternoon, or taking a walk in cool weather without a heavy jacket. These small acts are like strength training for your inner citadel. Each time you willingly embrace a minor hardship, you are building a muscle memory of self-sufficiency. You are proving that your peace does not require perfect comfort, that your happiness is not dependent on a constant stream of external validation or convenience. So ask yourself this simple, practical question. What one small comfort could you voluntarily give up this week to remind yourself of your own inherent and unshakable sufficiency? This deep trust in your own resilience finds its ultimate anchor in the Stoic understanding of the cosmos itself. The ancient Stoics saw the universe not as a collection of random accidents, but as a single, living, and supremely rational entity they called the Logos. This is the idea of a providential order, an intelligent principle weaving through all of nature, including the events of our own lives. To trust in this Logos is to believe that nothing happens to you in a purely hostile sense, but that everything happens for the whole, and you are an inseparable part of that whole. Marcus Aurelius returned to this thought again and again in his private reflections. He wrote that whatever happens to you had been prepared for you in advance from eternity, and the thread of causation was weaving your destiny along with the destiny of the universe. This is not a call to blind faith, but to a reasoned trust in a coherent cosmos. It is the difference between seeing yourself as a lonely leaf battered by a passing storm, and knowing you are a vital branch on an ancient, immense tree, whose growth follows a pattern far grander than any single season's weather. Your personal challenges, from a minor inconvenience to a life-altering change, are not chaotic intrusions. Within this view, they are integral components of a larger, meaningful picture, even when you cannot see the entire canvas. Think back on your own life to a moment that felt like a pure misfortune at the time. Perhaps it was a job you did not get, a relationship that shifted, or a plan that fell completely apart. With the clarity of hindsight, can you now trace a line from that apparent setback to a new direction, a crucial lesson learned, or a strength you would not have otherwise developed? The experience itself may have been difficult, but its role in your story was not without purpose. It was, in a quiet way, meaningful. This perspective gently shifts your inner stance from one of fighting against the current of reality to one of learning to move with its deeper flow, trusting that it leads somewhere intelligible. Where in your life right now could you experiment with replacing the feeling of being a victim of circumstance with the quiet trust of a participant in a vast, rational order? We often treat the world as if it comes with labels already attached. We walk through our days automatically filing events into two simple categories, good or bad. Stoicism invites us into a far more liberating and nuanced reality, one where the labels are not discovered but chosen by us. This is the profound discipline of judging nothing as inherently good or bad. The ancient teacher Epictetus began his entire manual for living, the Enchiridion, with this radical premise. He stated that our own opinions about things are what disturb us, not the things themselves. An event is, in its essence, completely indifferent. It simply is. Its moral weight, its value as either a benefit or a setback, is determined solely by how we choose to use it. A job transition is not a tragedy. It is a change in circumstance. It becomes a difficult experience only if we respond with despair and inaction. It can become an opportunity for redirection and growth if we meet it with courage and resourcefulness. The event itself remains neutral, a blank canvas. We are the artists who paint its meaning. Think of a rainy day that cancels your long-awaited picnic. You might label this as a bad day, a disappointment, yet that exact same rain is a life-giving gift to a farmer whose crops are struggling in a dry spell. The rain did not change, only its context and its use changed. Your power does not lie in commanding the weather, it lies in your creative response to it. Perhaps the cancelled picnic becomes an unexpected afternoon for reading a book you love, or for a quiet conversation indoors. The event is neutral. Your judgment and your subsequent action give it its character. So look back over your recent week. Identify one event you quickly judged as unfavorable, a minor criticism, a delayed train, a plan that fell through. Now try on a new perspective, strip away the label, see the event as a simple, neutral fact. Then ask yourself this pivotal question: how can I use this neutral occurrence as an opportunity to act with patience, or with wisdom, or with resilience? Your power was never in preventing the rain. It is, and always has been, in deciding what to build with the water it brings. The day's final quiet moments are not an ending, but a classroom for the Stoic mind. This is the practice of the evening review, a gentle ritual of reflection that transforms the past 24 hours into a living lesson. Before sleep, you are invited to sit with your day, not as a harsh critic, but as a compassionate observer of your own journey. You examine your actions and, more importantly, the thoughts that guided them. You look for the moments where your responses aligned with Stoic principles, and with equal curiosity, you note the instances where you may have strayed from the path. The purpose is never to be hard on yourself for being human, but to gather invaluable insight for your continued growth. It is a gentle course correction, a way of learning from your own experience so you can walk with a little more wisdom tomorrow. A simple and powerful way to structure this is with 3 guiding questions. First, ask yourself, what did I do well today? Where did I exercise patience, act with courage, or show kindness even when it was difficult? Acknowledging these small victories builds confidence in your practice. Second, inquire, where could I have been more aligned with my values? Perhaps you spoke too quickly to a loved one, or you spent mental energy resisting a situation you could not change. See this not as a failure, but as a clear marker for where to focus your attention next time. And finally, ask, what did I learn? What did today's events, both the smooth and the challenging, teach you about your own mind, about your patterns, and about the nature of peace itself? This single question turns every experience, even the difficult ones, into a source of strength. Tonight, before you close your eyes, commit to just 5 minutes of this quiet review. Let your day become your greatest teacher, and let your own reflection build the unshakable peace you are seeking. That sense of isolation can make any hardship feel heavier, as if you are carrying the weight of the world entirely alone. Stoicism offers a powerful antidote to this loneliness in the concept of sympathia, the belief that the entire universe is a single, interconnected living being. We are not isolated islands of consciousness, but intimately woven threads in a vast cosmic fabric. Every event, every person, and every element is part of a single, breathing whole. Understanding this deep interconnection quiets the ego's voice that shouts, "Why is this happening to me?" and replaces it with a more resilient sense that we are all participants in a shared reality. Marcus Aurelius constantly returned to this idea to steady his mind. He wrote that we are made for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like eyelids, like the rows of upper and lower teeth. To act against one another is contrary to nature. He saw his own role as a Roman emperor not as a position of solitary power, but as a vital function within the larger body of humanity. Your own challenges are not a unique punishment. They are part of the universal human experience, a thread being woven into the grand tapestry. You cannot always see the entire, beautiful pattern from your single point of view, just as a single stitch in a tapestry cannot comprehend the full image it helps to create. Yet your thread is essential. Its color, its texture, and its place contribute to the strength and beauty of the whole. Consider a difficulty you are facing right now, perhaps a professional setback or a personal transition. Could it be that this very experience is not just your private burden, but a shared human moment that is, in some way you may not yet see, connecting you to a larger story and preparing you for a role you have yet to discover? You could leave life right now. This simple, direct statement from Marcus Aurelius is not meant to frighten you, but to free you. It is the heart of a Stoic practice known as Memento Mori, the remembrance that you are mortal. Far from being a dark fixation, this awareness is a powerful tool for creating both urgency and profound peace. It clarifies your priorities with startling speed, cutting through the noise of trivial concerns that so often consume your days. The philosopher Seneca wrote extensively on this, urging his friend Lucilius to live each day as if it were a complete life, to begin at once to live. He compared a life lived without this awareness to a voyage where you only realize you have reached the shore as you are arriving upon it. Think of a short vacation in a beautiful place. Knowing your time there is limited, you naturally become more present. You notice the quality of the light, you savor your meals, you feel a deeper appreciation for every experience because you are consciously aware that it will not last. The awareness of the end does not spoil the trip, it enriches it. Memento Mori applies this same principle to your entire existence. It asks you to hold the delicate nature of life in one hand, not to despair, but to give weight and value to the other hand, which holds the present moment. Your time and attention are your most precious, non-renewable resources, so let that question settle for a moment. If you knew with certainty that you had only 1 month to live, what long-held worry, what minor irritation, what source of daily anxiety would you release from your mind immediately? The answer reveals what is truly essential and what is merely a temporary distraction from the profound and simple act of living. That subtle space between a trigger and your reaction is where your freedom is truly won. This is the Stoic Pause, the single most practical tool you can begin using this very moment. It is the conscious, deliberate act of inserting a single breath, a moment of stillness between an initial impulse and your final action. This is not philosophy as a distant theory, but philosophy as a lived practice, the precise instant where you reclaim your agency from the automatic pull of habit. Think of it as the physical embodiment of the power of assent we explored earlier. An impression arrives sharp and urgent, demanding an immediate response. The Stoic Pause is you choosing to withhold your agreement, to create a buffer zone for your rational mind to enter the conversation. Consider the modern scenario of receiving an email that immediately sparks a flush of frustration. The impulse is to fire back a quick reply, to defend yourself instantly. But what happens if, in that critical moment, you consciously decide to pause? You close the email, you stand up and walk away for just 1 hour. In that space, the initial heat of the feeling subsides. your wiser self has room to consider the sender's perspective, to craft a response that addresses the issue without escalating the situation. The event was the same, but your action was transformed by that simple, deliberate hesitation. That pause is the difference between being pulled by external strings and being the one who holds the strings. What is one common trigger in your own daily life? A situation that reliably provokes a reaction you later wish you could reconsider. It might be a certain tone of voice from a family member, a sudden change in a work deadline, or the sound of traffic outside your window. For the next week, make that trigger your personal training ground. Commit to inserting just one conscious breath before you respond. In that breath, you are not doing nothing. You are doing the most important thing. You are building your inner citadel, one moment of choice at a time. A fragile ego is a crack in the foundation of your inner citadel. It constantly scans the horizon for anything that might challenge its self-image, interpreting a casual remark as a deep insult or a small oversight as a profound humiliation. This deep need for outside approval makes your peace entirely dependent on the unpredictable actions and views of others, a sure path toward constant worry. The Stoic answer to this is not self-deprecation, but a profound and grounded humility. This is the virtue of seeing yourself with clear-eyed accuracy, neither inflated with pride nor diminished by false modesty. It is the quiet understanding of your true place within the vast, interconnected whole. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in the world, often guided himself in his private writings. He wrote, "Away with your thirst for books, so that you may not die murmuring, but truly content and welcoming from your heart all that the universal nature wills." He was reminding himself that his identity was not in his vast knowledge or his imperial title, but in his capacity for reason and his willingness to accept his role. He saw pride as a kind of self-deception, a story that separates you from reality and makes you brittle. Consider the difference between two people receiving thoughtful feedback. The person with a boastful ego hears an attack. Their mind races to defend their image, creating internal noise and conflict. The humble person, secure in an honest self-assessment, hears the same words as neutral information. They can calmly consider what is shared, take what is useful for their growth, and release the rest without taking personal offense. One lives in a state of fragile defense, the other in a state of steady, receptive calm. Your own sense of self does not need to be propped up by the praise of others or defended from every perceived slight. It can rest on the solid ground of your own reasoned character. So take a quiet moment and look inward. Where does your own ego feel most tender, most in need of protection? Is it in your professional life, where a missed credit feels like a wound? Or in your personal relationships, where being overlooked stirs a deep unease? What if you could gently loosen your grip on that specific need for recognition or assurance? Imagine the profound sense of relief, the unburdening, that would follow if you no longer needed that particular form of validation to feel at peace. Your peace does not require a specific bank balance or the perfect set of circumstances. This is the subtle but life-changing Stoic distinction between what is good and what is merely preferred. The ancient Stoics classified things like wealth, physical health, and a solid reputation as preferred indifferents. This means they have a kind of practical value and can be chosen when available, but they hold no essential moral weight. They are not required for a virtuous and truly good life. Your tranquility shatters the moment you upgrade one of these preferences into a necessity, when you convince yourself that you cannot be okay without a particular level of comfort or approval. Think of yourself as a guest in a beautifully appointed hotel room. You can fully appreciate the comfortable bed, the pleasant view, the quiet atmosphere. You can use and enjoy all of it, yet you know on a deeper level that you do not own this space. When your stay is over, you pack your bags and leave without devastation because your real home, your true self, travels with you. The room was a preferred place to rest, but it was never the source of your peace. This is the proper relationship to externals. The philosopher Seneca captured this perfectly when he wrote that the wise person carries all their goods with them, complete in themselves. Their peace is an internal possession, not something contingent on the furniture of their life. So look closely at your own desires. What is one preferred indifferent that you sometimes treat as an absolute requirement for your happiness? Is it a certain number in your savings account, a particular standard of health, or the consistent good opinion of a specific group of people? Notice the subtle tension that arises when you attach your well-being to that external condition. Now experiment with the mindset of the guest. You can still prefer it, you can still work toward it, but could you also hold it loosely, knowing that your fundamental peace resides elsewhere, in a home you always carry within you? The river never stops moving. This was the core insight of the philosopher Heraclitus, who observed that you cannot step into the same river twice, for fresh waters are ever flowing in. The Stoics embraced this truth as a fundamental law of existence. Everything you see, from the mightiest empire to the cells in your own body, is in a state of perpetual transformation. To fight against this current is a battle you are destined to lose, a source of endless frustration. Peace, then, is not found in building a dam against the flow of life, but in learning to float effortlessly upon its surface. Marcus Aurelius would sit with this reality daily. He would remind himself that all things are born from change, and that to be upset by any event is to be at odds with the very nature of the universe itself. He wrote of the fleetingness of fame, of cities that rise and fall, and of the brief, bright flash of a single human life against the backdrop of eternity. Look outside your window at the slow, graceful turn of the seasons. The vibrant green of summer does not protest its own fading into the brilliant gold of autumn. The autumn leaves do not cling desperately to the branches, refusing to make way for the quiet stillness of winter. Each phase arrives, serves its purpose, and yields to the next in a natural, neutral cycle of renewal. Your own life is subject to these same rhythms. The career path you mapped out may take an unexpected turn. A relationship may evolve into a different form. Your own health and energy will shift over the years. Resisting these currents only makes you feel like you are struggling against the tide. Acceptance, on the other hand, feels like finally relaxing your muscles and allowing the water to carry you. It is not a surrender of your agency, but a wise acknowledgement of the reality in which your agency must operate. So bring to mind one change you are currently facing, a shift in your personal or professional life that you find yourself mentally pushing against. What would it feel like just for a moment to stop pushing, to release the tension in your shoulders and your mind, and simply acknowledge, this is the direction the water is flowing now? In that simple act of allowance, you are not giving up. You are aligning yourself with the most powerful force in the cosmos and finding your peace within its endless, intelligent motion. That feeling of wanting more is a kind of inner restlessness all its own. The Stoics offered a direct and powerful counterweight to this constant desire, not in acquiring more, but in the active practice of gratitude. They framed this not as a vague feeling of thanks, but as a disciplined exercise of the mind, a deliberate redirection of attention from what you lack to the reality of what you already possess. The fundamental rationale for this is a profound one. Everything we have, from our health to our relationships to the very breath in our lungs, is ultimately on loan from the world. None of it was ever a permanent possession guaranteed to us. Recognizing this truth transforms our relationship with our lives from one of ownership to one of stewardship. and this shift naturally fosters a deep and resilient contentment. You can see this practice clearly in the private writings of Marcus Aurelius. Despite the immense burdens of leading an empire, he would carefully list the things he was grateful for, from the lessons learned from challenging people to the simple fact of having fresh water to drink. He was actively training his mind to see the abundance that was already present. You can begin weaving this practice into your own life with a simple morning ritual. Before the day's demands rush in, take just one quiet minute to mentally acknowledge 3 specific things you are grateful for. It does not need to be grand. It could be the warmth of your blanket, the sound of birds outside, or the memory of a kind word from a friend. The specificity is what makes it real. So, as you move through your day, ask yourself this grounding question. What is one simple thing you usually take for granted that you can feel genuinely grateful for today? Other people can feel like the most unpredictable element in our lives. Their actions, their words, their sudden moods all seem to have the power to shatter our hard-won peace. The Stoics offered a radical reframe for this universal challenge, one that transforms our entire relationship with difficult individuals. They taught that when someone acts unjustly or unkindly, it is not a personal attack on you, but a demonstration of their own lack of understanding. They are mistaken about what is genuinely good. They believe that being rude or dismissive or harsh will bring them some benefit, when in truth, it only clouds their own character and separates them from true fulfillment. This is an error in their judgment, a form of not seeing clearly. Seeing this, how can we respond with pure anger? Would you be furious at someone who was physically blind for bumping into you? Your natural response would more likely be a form of compassion or a desire to help guide them. Marcus Aurelius constantly counseled himself on this very point. He wrote, when people act in ways that feel hurtful, ask yourself what good or harm they thought would come of it. If you understand that, you will feel sympathy rather than outrage or anger. Your task is not to correct their misunderstanding with a heated argument, but to meet their error with the unwavering strength of your own virtue. Consider the colleague who makes a sharp, unnecessary comment in a meeting. The automatic impulse is to fire back a witty retort, to put them in their place, to make sure they feel the sting of their own words. But that impulse only pulls you down into the same chaotic energy. The Stoic response is to remain steady. You can choose to simply not absorb the intended insult. You can see the comment not as a truth about you, but as a signal of that person's own internal conflict, their own misguided belief that such behavior is effective. By refusing to retaliate, you are not being weak. You are actively demonstrating a better way to be. You are holding a space for your own character, proving that your peace is not so easily stolen. Bring to mind one person in your own life whose actions tend to unsettle you. For just a moment, try on this lens of compassionate understanding. Look past the frustrating behavior and see if you can glimpse the lack of awareness that might be driving it. What confusion, what mistaken belief about happiness could be leading them to act in this way? This shift does not excuse their behavior, but it does free you from the exhausting cycle of taking it personally. That inner fortress is your most personal sanctuary, a space no outside force can ever truly enter. Marcus Aurelius called this your inner citadel, a stronghold built not from stone, but from the raw materials of your own reasoned judgments and your deliberate choices. This is the final destination of all our Stoic practice, the creation of a self that remains inviolable and at peace regardless of the chaos swirling outside its walls. Picture 2 people standing on a shoreline as a storm rolls in. One is without shelter, exposed and battered by the wind and rain, completely at the mercy of the elements. The other stands within a lighthouse, feeling the storm's intensity through the thick glass, yet remaining dry, calm, and steady, a beacon of light that the storm cannot extinguish. The storm is the same for both, representing the inevitable hardships and uncertainties of life. The difference is the inner structure each person possesses. Your inner citadel is that lighthouse. Its foundation is laid with the bedrock virtues of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Its walls are reinforced every time you pause before reacting, every time you choose to see a challenge as training, and every time you redirect a desire toward what is truly within your power. The person who has not built this structure is vulnerable, tossed about by every shift in circumstance, their mood dictated by the weather of external events. But you, when you feel that outer turbulence begin to rise, have a place to retreat. You can turn inward to the quiet certainty of your own principles. You do not need to control the storm, you only need to maintain the integrity of your light. So take a quiet moment and look within. What are the core virtues that form the unshakable foundation of your own inner citadel? Is it the courage to speak your truth with kindness, the wisdom to accept what you cannot change, the justice to treat everyone with fairness even when it is difficult? These are the stones with which you build, and every conscious choice you make today is another layer of protection, another reason you will stand firm when the winds howl. The obstacle is not a dead end, but the very path itself. This powerful Stoic maxim, "the obstacle is the way," reframes every single barrier you face as the raw material for your own progress. Instability is not a sign that you are on the wrong road. It is the terrain of the journey itself, the rough ground that strengthens your legs for the climb ahead. The ancient founders of this philosophy did not just teach this idea, they lived it. Consider the story of Zeno of Citium. His life was set on a predictable course as a merchant until a sudden event at sea changed everything. He lost his entire cargo and his original livelihood. This experience, which many would call a pure catastrophe, became the catalyst for his entire life's work. Finding himself in Athens, he wandered into a bookshop, discovered the teachings of Socrates, and began his philosophical studies. From the transition of his old life, he built a new one, ultimately founding the Stoic school of thought that would guide millions for centuries. His greatest challenge did not break him, it literally created him. Your own modern challenges hold this same hidden potential. A sudden career shift, a project cancelled, or a role changed can feel like a professional turning point. The automatic reaction is to see a blocked path, a story of ending, but the Stoic lens asks a different question. How can this exact situation become my training ground? Where is the way through this very obstacle? Perhaps this moment is your chance to practice the virtue of perseverance, to continue putting one foot in front of the other with dignity when the destination is unclear. Maybe it is an invitation to cultivate creativity, encouraging you to explore avenues and skills you would have otherwise overlooked in your comfort. The obstacle itself becomes the fuel for your development, so look closely at your own life right now. What is one current obstacle, one source of friction or instability that feels like a wall in your path? Now reframe it as your personal gym. What specific virtue could you practice here, right in the middle of this difficulty? Is it the patience to wait for the right next step without forcing a rushed decision? Is it the courage to have a difficult conversation you have been avoiding? Your obstacle is not in your way, it is the way. A feeling of peace can be fleeting, but a state of being is unshakable. The Stoics pointed to a single, supreme anchor for the human soul, which they called the Summum Bonum, the highest good. This is not a passing emotion or a favorable outcome, but the consistent practice of living with an excellent and rational character. It is the unwavering commitment to virtue itself as your only true goal. When this becomes your sole purpose, the shifting landscape of external life loses its power to unsettle you because it cannot reach the core of who you are. Your moral purpose remains entirely your own. The teacher Epictetus put this in the clearest terms. He said that what is truly good is a certain kind of will, and what is truly unhelpful is a certain kind of will. Everything else, he insisted, has no bearing on our capacity for good. Your will, your choice to act with integrity and reason, is the only thing that is genuinely yours to command. Think of a master craftsperson who finds their deepest satisfaction not in the praise their work receives, but in the quiet knowledge that they have done their best work. They have selected the finest materials, used their tools with skill and care, and honored their craft. Whether the final piece becomes widely appreciated or is completely overlooked, their inner peace remains intact. The quality of their effort was the point, and that was something no outside opinion could ever enhance or diminish. So let this question settle into the quiet space of your mind. If your peace, your fundamental well-being, depended entirely and exclusively on the quality of your own character, and on absolutely nothing else in this world, how would you choose to live this very day? Peace is not a destination you arrive at, but a skill you practice with every breath. This entire journey through the Stoic method reveals a profound truth: that your unshakable calm is not found by waiting for the storms to pass, but by learning to dance in the rain. It is the proactive, daily training of your mind, from drawing the crucial line between what is yours to command and what is not, to lovingly embracing your circumstances as your teacher. It is in the quiet power of pausing before you react, and in the courageous work of building your inner strength thought by thoughtful thought. The Roman philosopher Seneca captured the essence of this entire practice when he wrote that the person who has peace is not the one whom fortune favors, but the one whom fortune cannot break, because they have placed their trust not in the chaos of the world, but in the unwavering strength of their own choices. Your life's journey, with all its unexpected turns and challenges, is not a threat to your peace. It is the raw material, the essential training ground where your inner resilience is shaped and proven. So as you move forward from this moment, do not feel you must master everything at once. Choose just one principle from our time together, perhaps the evening reflection or the simple mindful pause, and commit to weaving it into the fabric of your coming week. Then return here and share a single insight in the comments below. Tell us what shifted for you. In sharing our experiences, we do not just learn from ancient wisdom, we build a modern community of practice, reminding each other that none of us walk this path toward peace alone.